Our objective for this video is to find the equation of an exponential function given two consecutive points. So first of all, what I want to do is just remind you of what an exponential function is. If we talk about y and x being our variables, it's y equals a times b to the x. So there's a variable in the exponent. That's what makes an exponential equation. The a here is your initial amount. So it's where you start the problem. And then the b we call the base. It's what the factor is that we multiply by each time. So it would be like, for instance, 5 times 3 to the first, 5 times 3 to the second, 5 times 3 to the third. You just keep adding an extra factor in this case. Now, where we have this problem, f of x equals 12 times 3 to the x. If I want to find f of 4, that's going to be 12 times 3 to the 4th power. Let's do that on a calculator. So if we do 12 times 3 to the 4th, we get 972. Now this one, f of 5, we put 5 in. Notice that 5 becomes the exponent. So 12 times 3 to the 5th, it has an extra factor of 3. So when we do that on a calculator, what we get for it, we'll do 12 times 3 to the 5th power, and we get 2916. 2,916. Now, the idea I want you to get from this, not only how you substitute numbers in, that becomes the exponent, but what happens if we take two consecutive values? We put in 4, the next integer is 5. If we take those two consecutive values and divide them, so I would take and I do 2,916 divided by 972. Now that might make sense to you what we would get, but we go 2916 divided by 972, and we get 3. Now that might make sense to you because remember what we were talking about is between these two equations, what's changed is we have an extra factor of 3. Well, what this tells us is if we know the value of two consecutive y values of an exponential function, if we divide them, we get what the base is in the function. We get that number right there. So we're going to use that as part of our steps for finding the exponential equation. So this is when you're given, when you have two consecutive points, the x values are consecutive integers. How do you find what the equation is? You first of all find b, the base, by finding the ratio of y's. And you just do the second one over the first one. So you do whatever the first one was, you put it in the denominator. The second consecutive one, you put in the numerator. Then once you do that, you pick one of the points, pick a given point, one of them, and find a. So you find the base first, and then you find the initial value after that. Let's try an example here. So say these are two consecutive points. 3 and 4 are consecutive numbers. So you first of all find b by putting the second value here, 1875 for y's, over the first, 375. And when you divide those two, you get 5. Now I've got the equation y equals a times 5 to the x. Notice that x is my exponent, y I'm trying to have over here as it solved for it. It's the a, the initial value that we have to find. Well, to do that, you pick one of these two ordered pairs. I'm gonna pick the first one. I'm gonna put in 375 for the y, and I'm gonna put in 3 for the x, and then all you have to do is find a by dividing 375 by 5 cubed, and so you'll get a equal to 3. So my equation, if I go back to my standard equation, y equals the initial value times the base to the x power. So there's my equation of the exponential function once I find the b, the base, and then go for the initial value using one of the ordered pairs. I could have used this one, it would have given me the same answer. Let's try this one. So we're going to find the base first by taking 2 and 3 are the x values, so that goes in that order. So we can take the second one, 0.0078125, and divide it by the second, or the first y value, 0.03125. And when I divide those two, I get 0.25. I get 1/4. So that's my base, 1/4 is my base. So I'm gonna put that into y equals the initial value times 0.25 to the x power. Now I'm gonna pick one of the two ordered pairs. You can pick either one of them. This time I'll pick the second one. I'll put this one in and I get 0.0078125. That's gonna equal my initial value times 0.25 to the x power. In this case, it's going to be to the third power. So I'm going to divide by that on both sides. So I get a equal to 0.0078125 divided by this to a power, so 0.25 to the third. And once I do that division, I get 1/2. I get 0.5, 0.5. So now that I've got my base is what the b is, 0.25. I got my initial value, 0.5, and so I can put that into my equation, and that's 0.5 times the base, 0.25 to the x power. So to find the equation of an exponential given two consecutive values, what you need to do is find the base first by doing a ratio of the second y value over the first, and then you find the initial value by picking one of your ordered pairs, putting it in along with that base that we found, and we'll find the initial value, and then we'll get our exponential function.